Welcome to World Information HD, where we explore the extraordinary stories behind the world's rarest coins. In today's countdown, we're unveiling the top 10 most valuable, and potentially million-dollar, Lincoln pennies ever minted in the United States. In the fascinating world of American coin collecting, there exists a category of treasures that may seem ordinary at first glance, but in truth, hold stories and values far beyond what the average person could ever imagine. Coins that many might pass over without a second thought are, to seasoned collectors and sharp-eyed enthusiasts, glittering jewels of history, rarity, and intrigue. One such remarkable piece is the 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a small copper coin that has captured the imagination of the numismatic community for decades. To truly understand why this penny has become such a coveted item, we need to take a step back in time, back to an era when the United States was experiencing both turbulent change and extraordinary growth. The year 1969 was one of transformation in America. The Apollo 11 mission had just put a man on the moon. Woodstock brought hundreds of thousands together in a celebration of music and counterculture, and the Vietnam War continued to dominate headlines. Amid these events, the U.S. Mint continued its steady production of the Lincoln cent, a coin that had been in circulation since 1909, bearing the dignified profile of the nation's beloved 16th president. The Lincoln penny had already been a fixture in American pockets for 60 years by 1969. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse side features Lincoln's profile facing right, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," above, "Liberty," to the left, and the year of issue just below his chin. The reverse at that time displayed the image of the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. To the casual observer, the 1969 penny looked no different from the billions of others struck over the decades. But certain details make this year's no-mint mark variety a piece worth far more than a single cent. The no-mint mark designation is key here. Normally, pennies struck in Philadelphia carry no mint mark, while those from Denver bear a small d, and those from San Francisco an s. For collectors, identifying the mint origin is often the first step in assessing rarity and value. In 1969, a large number of cents came from Philadelphia without a mint mark, and at first glance, it might seem these coins would be of no special significance, until you learn about the unique factors that make certain examples stand out. During the late 1960s, the U.S. Mint underwent various changes in production techniques and die preparation. The dies, those metal tools used to strike the design onto blank planchets, were susceptible to imperfections, doubling, and other small variations. In 1969, certain pennies emerged with distinct characteristics that became the stuff of legend. While the famous 1969 S-double-die penny gets most of the headlines, the Philadelphia no-mint mark pennies can also carry exceptional collector value when they appear in pristine condition, with sharp strikes and original luster preserved. A major reason this coin commands such interest lies in its condition rarity. Billions of pennies are produced each year, but only a tiny fraction survive decades without suffering scratches, discoloration, or loss of detail. Copper, the primary metal in these cents, is highly reactive to moisture and air, making uncirculated examples increasingly rare as time passes. Imagine a 1969 penny that somehow escaped the jangling of change jars, the abrasion of pockets, and the oxidation of storage, one that remains as crisp and vibrant as the day it left the mint. Such coins are precious indeed. Collectors prize coins based on a combination of scarcity, demand, and grade. Grade refers to the coin's condition, measured on a scale from poor 1 to mint state 70. The higher the grade, the more visually flawless the coin, and thus the more valuable it becomes. A 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln cent in mint state condition can reveal shimmering red copper surfaces, sharp relief details in Lincoln's hair, and perfect edges free of nicks or wear. Achieving such preservation requires either incredible luck or deliberate care from the moment the coin was struck. Now, let's talk about why collectors will go to great lengths to obtain such a penny. In coin collecting, history and nostalgia play a huge role. The 1969 no-mint mark penny is more than just a piece of metal. It's a tangible connection to a year of moon landings, cultural revolutions and shifting American identity. For older collectors, it may be a reminder of childhood, of simpler times when a penny still bought a piece of candy. For younger enthusiasts, it's a chance to own a piece of history that existed long before they were born. This blend of emotional resonance and historical importance fuels strong demand. When a coin meets high demand with low supply, its market price can soar. Auctions have shown time and again that the most pristine examples of the 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln cent can ignite bidding wars among collectors. It's not uncommon for these coins to command astonishing sums, especially when certified by respected grading services like PCGS or NGC. These companies not only assign an official grade but also authenticate the coin, ensuring it's free from counterfeiting or tampering. In today's market, a perfect or near-perfect specimen can cross into territory that seems unimaginable for a simple penny. Of course, not all 1969 pennies without a mint mark are valuable. Most will remain worth only face value or a few cents to collectors looking for fillers in their albums. The magic happens when a coin combines rarity of condition, eye appeal, and verified authenticity. This trifecta transforms it from a humble cent into a sought-after collectible with the power to turn heads and open wallets. Another fascinating aspect of coin collecting is the hunt itself. Many collectors dream of finding a treasure in their loose change, at a garage sale, or hidden in an old family coin jar. While the odds of stumbling upon a flawless 1969 no-mint mark penny are slim, the possibility adds an element of adventure to everyday transactions. This is part of the coin's charm. It's a prize that could be hiding in plain sight, waiting for a sharp-eyed individual to recognize its value. Over the years, stories have circulated of people discovering rare coins in the most unexpected places. Perhaps an inherited collection from a grandparent turns out to hold a forgotten gem. Maybe an unassuming roll of pennies from the bank hides a dazzling example from 1969. Such discoveries not only reward the finder financially but also deepen the mystery and excitement surrounding coins like this one. It's these tales of luck, persistence, and surprise that keep the numismatic world vibrant and alive. In the grand scheme of coinage, the Lincoln penny stands as one of America's longest-running and most beloved designs. From its debut in 1909 to the present day, it has undergone subtle changes while retaining its iconic image. The 1969 no-mint mark version represents a moment in that long history, a point where the past and present intersect in copper form. It embodies the artistry of minting, the meticulous craft of engraving, and the unpredictable quirks of mass production. For investors and collectors alike, acquiring such a coin is both a financial move and a personal triumph. The value may rise or fall with market trends, but the satisfaction of owning a top-grade example is lasting. Whether displayed proudly in a collection or stored safely in a protective holder, it serves as a reminder of what is possible when rarity and passion meet. As time moves forward, fewer high-grade examples will remain available. Every year that passes increases the historical distance between now and 1969, making each surviving specimen more significant. This natural scarcity, combined with enduring collector interest, ensures that the 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln cent will remain a desirable prize for generations to come. And so, for the lucky few who manage to secure one in pristine, uncirculated condition, the rewards can be extraordinary. In fact, the very finest examples of this coin have been known to sell for an astonishing $56,388. The year was 1973. In the heart of America's coinage history, a small copper coin rolled off the presses of the Philadelphia Mint, humble in size, yet destined to one day capture the attention of collectors across the world. This was the 1973 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin most people would simply spend without a second thought. But as time would reveal, some of these coins carried subtle details, striking quality, and historical significance that transformed them from everyday pocket change into prized treasures of numismatic history. At first glance, the 1973 penny seems unremarkable, just another copper coin with the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln gazing solemnly to the right, the words, "In God We Trust," arching above, "Liberty," on the left, and the date neatly placed on the right. No mint mark. No obvious sign that this little cent could ever be worth more than its face value. And yet, that lack of a mint mark is where the story begins. The absence of a mint mark means the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the oldest mint facility in the United States, known for its mass production and, historically, its omission of mint marks on certain denominations. While Denver pennies were marked with a D, and San Francisco coins bore the S, Philadelphia coins in 1973 carried no such letter. To a casual observer, this may have seemed trivial. But to collectors, mint location can make all the difference, especially when condition, strike quality, and rarity factors align. 1973 was a pivotal year for the Lincoln cent. The U.S. Mint was still producing pennies from a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a formula used for decades. This meant each penny was slightly heavier than today's coins and had a richer, more vibrant reddish-brown tone when freshly minted. However, these copper cents were also prone to oxidation over time, developing shades of brown, or even hints of green if stored improperly. As a result, finding a 1973 no-mint mark penny in flawless condition today is far more difficult than one might imagine. The design itself carries historical weight. The obverse features Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of Lincoln, a design introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. It remains one of the most iconic designs in American coinage. On the reverse, Frank Gasparo's depiction of the Lincoln Memorial, adopted in 1959, stands as a tribute not just to the president but to the ideals of unity and democracy. Sharp strikes reveal even the tiniest detail of the memorial, including the faint image of the seated statue of Lincoln inside, visible under magnification. On high-grade examples, the steps of the memorial appear crisp, the lettering perfectly sharp, and the fields, the flat areas of the coin, mirror-like in their smoothness. But here's where things get truly fascinating. Not all 1973 pennies were created equal. While millions were minted, only a small fraction survive today in pristine, uncirculated condition, untouched by human hands since the day they left the mint. Most circulated heavily, acquiring scratches, nicks, and wear that strip away their collector appeal. Others fell victim to poor storage, toning unevenly or spotting due to moisture exposure. For coin collectors, condition is everything. The difference between a coin worth a few cents and one worth thousands often comes down to the preservation of its original luster and detail. Grading services like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, assign grades on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect, flawless coin. A 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln cent graded in the high 60s, especially one with the coveted red designation, can command extraordinary prices at auction. The red designation is particularly important for copper coins. Over time, copper oxidizes and changes color, moving from the original fiery red to a duller red-brown, and eventually full brown. Coins that retain at least 95% of their original red luster are considered red by grading standards, and these are highly sought after. The 1973 no-mint mark penny in such condition is a rare find indeed, as copper is notoriously reactive and difficult to preserve in its fresh mint state. Rarity in this case doesn't mean few were made, it means few survived in the condition collectors crave. Imagine millions of these coins pouring out of mint presses in 1973, tumbling into bags, clinking into cash registers, and jingling in countless pockets across the country. Day after day, year after year, they were spent, dropped, scratched, and forgotten. Only the lucky few that were set aside immediately after minting, perhaps by collectors or as part of coin rolls stored away, escaped the ravages of circulation. Some of the most valuable 1973 no-mint mark pennies are those that exhibit exceptional strike quality. A well-struck coin shows Lincoln's hair detail crisply, with each strand clearly separated. On the reverse, the steps of the Lincoln Memorial are sharp and defined, the lettering bold and perfectly formed. Many coins from the early 1970s suffered from weaker strikes, making well-struck examples stand out even more. There are also fascinating varieties and errors to look for. While the 1973 no-mint mark penny is not known for major double-die varieties like some earlier Lincoln cents, There are examples of minor doubling on the date or lettering, as well as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other mint errors. Such anomalies can add significant value, particularly if they occur on an already high-grade coin. Collectors are also drawn to the historical backdrop of the year 1973. The United States was in the midst of significant change. The Vietnam War was drawing to a close, the Watergate scandal was dominating headlines, and American culture was shifting in profound ways. Coins minted during such times become tangible artifacts of history, connecting us to the events and atmosphere of that era. The 1973 Lincoln cent, then, is more than just a coin, it's a piece of that historical puzzle. When you hold one in your hand, you're holding a moment from half a century ago, preserved in copper. It may have been part of a young child's allowance, tucked into a savings jar, or slipped into a vending machine for a candy bar. Or perhaps it never saw circulation at all, instead resting untouched in a coin roll for decades, waiting for the day a collector would recognize its potential. And that potential has become reality for certain extraordinary examples. High-grade 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln cents have crossed the auction block for jaw-dropping sums, stunning even seasoned numismatists. The allure lies in the perfect blend of condition, color, strike, and rarity, a combination that turns a simple penny into a numismatic treasure. So, the next time you come across an old Lincoln penny from the early 1970s, take a closer look. Check the date. Look for that absence of a mint mark. Examine the coin under good lighting. Does it still have that original red glow? Are the details sharp and the surfaces free from scratches? If so, you might just be holding something far more valuable than a single cent. In the world of coin collecting, stories like these remind us why we look so closely at the change in our pockets. Hidden among the ordinary can be the extraordinary, waiting for the right eyes to see it. And for one remarkable 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, the right collector saw it, and it sold for an incredible $21,388. In the vast world of coin collecting, there are certain treasures that hide in plain sight, coins that pass through countless hands every single day, coins so ordinary at first glance that most people wouldn't give them a second thought. Yet, for the careful eye, these pieces of history carry stories, mysteries, and sometimes, an extraordinary value that can change someone's life overnight. Among these, there's one small copper coin minted in the early 1980s that has quietly gained a reputation for being far more special than it seems. The coin I'm talking about is the United States of America's 1981 Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it looks like any other penny from the change jar on your desk or the loose coins in your car. But when you dig deeper into its history, its design, its production details, and the rare factors that make certain specimens highly sought after, you begin to see why collectors are willing to pay serious money for it. Let's step back in time to 1981, an era of change, both in America and in the world of coinage. Ronald Reagan had just taken office as the 40th President of the United States. The economy was shifting, technology was evolving, and in the world of the United States Mint, something significant was about to happen: the transition from copper pennies to copper-plated zinc. This switch was largely due to rising copper prices, which made producing solid copper coins more expensive than their face value. The 1981 penny is particularly interesting because it belongs to the very last full year in which pennies were struck primarily from 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing in at 3.11 grams. The D Mint mark, of course, signifies that the coin was produced at the Denver Mint in Colorado, a facility known for its massive coin output and precise minting processes. Now, you might think, if millions upon millions of these coins were minted, how could one possibly be rare? After all, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies in 1981 alone. The answer lies in the details. The design on the obverse, or front, features the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner and introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. By 1981, this design had already been in circulation for over 70 years, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. On the reverse side, you'll find the image of the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. At the base of the memorial, if you look closely, You can even see a tiny representation of the Lincoln statue seated inside, a detail that many casual observers never notice. But within this seemingly ordinary design, some 1981 pennies stand out due to minting errors, striking quality, and preservation. Certain coins were struck with exceptionally sharp detail, creating what numismatists call full strike, or gem, quality. Others display unusual die varieties, slight doubling in the lettering, for example, or minor misalignments that happen during the striking process. One of the most intriguing aspects is the difference between business strike coins, those intended for everyday circulation, and proof coins, which are struck with special dies and polished blanks for collectors. While the Denver Mint didn't produce proof coins in 1981, those were made in San Francisco with the S Mint mark. Some circulation pennies from Denver were so perfectly struck and preserved that they look almost like proofs. These are the coins that get collectors' hearts racing. Condition plays a huge role in the value of any coin. A circulated 1981 penny with scratches, discoloration, and wear is typically worth face value, just 1 cent. But in mint state condition, graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC as MS65 or higher, the story changes dramatically. Coins that have been stored away from the damaging effects of air, moisture, and handling can retain their original luster, making them far more valuable. To put this into perspective, consider what happens when a collector or investor finds a coin that has survived more than 4 decades without a single significant blemish. Imagine a copper coin that looks exactly as it did the day it left the Denver Mint in 1981, rich reddish-brown or even full red in color, with no spots, no scratches, and every detail sharp and bold. Such coins are not only beautiful, they are rare, and rarity always drives value. But rarity isn't just about condition. Sometimes, coins become valuable because of unusual characteristics, such as planchet errors, when the blank metal disc used to make the coin has imperfections, or striking errors like off-center designs or double strikes. While most errors are caught by the mint's quality control, a few slip through, and these become prized finds for collectors. A 1981 penny with a dramatic error, combined with high-grade preservation, can fetch impressive sums. The Denver Mint's role is also worth noting. Known for producing coins with a sharper strike compared to Philadelphia, Denver has historically been favored by some collectors for certain series. However, the large mintage means that condition and uniqueness are absolutely critical in determining value for 1981 pennies. Now, let's talk about the thrill of the hunt. Searching for valuable pennies isn't just about making money, it's about the excitement of discovery. For many collectors, the journey begins with pocket change, coin rolls from banks, or inherited collections from family members. Every coin you flip over has the potential to be a hidden treasure, and the 1981 penny is a perfect example of this. It's worth noting that in 1982, the composition of the Lincoln penny changed to 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper plating, reducing the weight to 2.5 grams. This makes the 1981 pennies the last of the true heavy copper cents, adding a layer of historical significance. Collectors often seek to complete sets of Lincoln cents by year and mint mark, and having a pristine 1981 is a must for many serious numismatists. For someone who's not familiar with coin grading, terms like MS65 or MS67 might sound abstract. In simple terms, MS stands for mint state, meaning the coin is in the same condition as when it was minted, without having been circulated. The numbers represent the quality level on the Sheldon grading scale, with 70 being a perfect, flawless coin. An MS67 or MS68 grade is incredibly difficult to achieve for a circulation strike coin from 1981, making such examples exceptionally rare and valuable. The market for high-grade 1981 pennies has grown as more collectors recognize the challenge of finding them in perfect condition. Copper coins, unlike silver or gold, are prone to developing spots, toning, and other imperfections over time, even if they're stored carefully. This natural tendency toward aging makes untouched examples even more special, and while the average 1981 penny might still be worth a single cent, a gem-quality example is an entirely different story. auctions have shown time and time again that when two or more determined collectors want the same pristine coin, bidding wars can drive the price sky high. This is why coin collecting remains such a fascinating intersection of history, art, and economics. Value isn't just about metal content, it's about demand, rarity, and beauty. Some of the most successful finds come from people who didn't even realize what they had until they took a closer look. A jar of change sitting untouched for decades, an old piggy bank from childhood, or a set of coins saved by a parent or grandparent. These are the places where treasures hide. The key is knowing what to look for: sharp detail, original luster, no signs of wear, and any unusual features that set the coin apart from the rest. So, as you listen to this, think about the coins you've handled today. Could one of them be a forgotten relic from 1981, with a tiny D beneath Lincoln's portrait, waiting to be discovered? Could it be one of the rare survivors in extraordinary condition? If so, you might just be holding a piece of history worth far more than its face value. And now, the question you've been waiting for: what is the top value that a pristine, high-grade 1981 D Lincoln 1-cent penny has been known to bring? The answer might surprise you. One such example, in extraordinary condition with unmatched quality, has been valued at an incredible $34,999. The year 1983 may not seem like an ancient date in American coin history, but sometimes treasures are hidden in plain sight, disguised as the humble coins we've all handled countless times. When it comes to United States pennies, the 1983 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny has a fascinating story, a story of transition in U.S. coinage, unexpected rarity, and the reason some of these seemingly ordinary coins can be worth more than most people imagine. This coin belongs to a chapter of American history when the penny was undergoing a significant change. Just a year earlier, in 1982, the United States Mint had made a major decision to change the metal composition of the penny. For over 2 decades before that, pennies were mostly copper, specifically 95% copper and 5% zinc. But copper prices had risen so much that the metal inside a penny was worth more than the coin's face value. Producing them in copper was becoming costly for the U.S. government, so they made the switch to a copper-plated zinc composition, 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating. By 1983, this new composition was in full swing, and every penny being produced was supposed to be zinc-based. The Philadelphia Mint produced millions of them without any mint mark, which is why these coins are called no mint mark pennies. But within this sea of billions, certain pieces ended up becoming standouts due to unique qualities, striking errors, and the occasional fluke of coin production. You might think, if there were billions made, how could one be worth more than a few cents? The answer lies in understanding what collectors, also known as numismatists, search for: rarity, condition, and historical significance. Even with modern coins, a small difference in the way a coin was struck can mean the difference between pocket change and a small fortune. For the 1983 no-mint mark penny, one of the most famous examples is the double die reverse variety. This happens when the coin's design is accidentally struck more than once, but not perfectly aligned, causing the details, especially in the lettering and memorial building, to appear doubled. On the reverse side of the 1983 penny, if you look closely at certain rare examples, the words 1 cent and United States of America show a distinct shadow or doubling effect. For experienced collectors, spotting this detail can feel like striking gold. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced the no-mint mark version, was not known for adding its P mint mark until 2017 for cents, so all 1983 pennies from Philadelphia appear without any letter below the date. But what's fascinating is that 1983 marked only the second year of the zinc-based pennies, and the minting process was still adjusting to the new metal's behavior during striking. Zinc is softer than copper, and the thin copper plating can sometimes blister, crack, or develop plating bubbles. While most people see such imperfections as damage, certain striking anomalies, especially when they occur during production, can make the coin a collectible curiosity. Beyond the double die reverse, sharp-eyed collectors also look for off-center strikes, where part of the coin's design is missing because it was struck while misaligned in the press. Then there are broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the collar that gives it its circular rim, causing the coin to appear wider and flatter. Another sought-after type is the transitional error, in which a coin is struck on a leftover copper planchet from 1982 instead of the intended zinc planchet of 1983. Imagine holding a penny from your change jar, flipping it under the light, and realizing it's made of solid copper when it shouldn't be. These transitional error coins from 1983 are incredibly rare and highly desirable to collectors. And that's where the magic of coin collecting lies, knowing that something extraordinary could be hiding in plain sight. Condition is another huge factor. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a flawless, perfect coin showing no signs of wear under magnification. Most 1983 pennies found in circulation today are worn from decades of use. They have scratches, nicks, discoloration, and the occasional gum residue from being stuck to something. But when a coin is discovered in near-perfect condition, perhaps saved in a roll for decades or accidentally forgotten in a drawer, its value can skyrocket. The highest values for 1983 no-mint mark Lincoln cents are achieved when the coin has both a rare era variety and a pristine, uncirculated grade. Collectors will pay top dollar for examples certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, which verify the coin's authenticity, condition, and rarity. This brings us to the modern marketplace for these coins. Over the years, coin auctions and private sales have proven that certain 1983 pennies are not to be underestimated. Even without errors, a high-grade uncirculated example can fetch more than you might expect. But when you combine perfect preservation with a sought-after variety, such as the double-die reverse or transitional copper strike, the prices become astonishing. For example, one particularly remarkable 1983 no-mint mark Lincoln cent with a dramatic double-die reverse, graded in pristine condition, sold at auction for a staggering sum. This wasn't just about metal content. After all, the coin still only contained a few cents worth of zinc and copper. It was about rarity, demand, and the collector's willingness to pay for something truly special. Another point worth noting is that coin collecting in America has been growing steadily, with more young collectors entering the hobby. Social media, YouTube channels, and online marketplaces like eBay have made it easier for people to share their finds and learn how to identify rare coins. As awareness grows, the demand for these rare varieties also increases, driving prices even higher. For anyone hoping to find one of these gems, the first step is knowledge. You don't need a magnifying glass the size of a telescope, just a good quality loupe or small magnifier and an eye for detail. Checking the reverse lettering for doubling, feeling the coin's weight to detect if it might be copper instead of zinc, and looking for unusual striking characteristics are all part of the process. If you suspect you have a special 1983 penny, the next step is to avoid cleaning it. Cleaning coins can damage their surfaces and drastically reduce their value. Instead, store it carefully and consider sending it to a grading service. The small investment in authentication can make a huge difference if you ever decide to sell. There's also the thrill factor, the sense that you might have a hidden treasure in your hands. Many people have found valuable coins while casually sorting through their change or searching through old penny jars inherited from relatives. It's like modern-day treasure hunting, and the excitement never really fades. Even today, over 40 years after these pennies first rolled off the presses, they remain a popular target for roll hunters, hobbyists who search through rolls of coins from banks, looking for rare dates, varieties, and minting errors. The idea that a 1-cent coin could be worth thousands fuels their determination and keeps the hunt alive. In the grand tapestry of American coinage, the 1983 no-mint mark Lincoln penny may seem like a small thread, but it's one that carries a surprising amount of history and intrigue. It reminds us that rarity isn't always about age. Sometimes it's about the quirks of production, the shifting of minting technologies, and the dedication of collectors who keep the stories of these coins alive. When you next come across a penny with the date 1983 and no mint mark beneath it, take a closer look. That tiny piece of metal might just have a secret worth discovering. You never know. It could be one of those special pieces that turns a common coin into a prize of numismatic history. And for one remarkable example of this coin, The price it achieved was $45,298. Imagine for a moment you're going through an old jar of coins in the kitchen, one that's been sitting untouched for decades. You're sifting through common pennies, each looking like it has lived through grocery store counters, school vending machines, and dusty pockets. Then, suddenly, you see one that seems perfectly ordinary at first glance, its copper tone dulled slightly from time. The date reads 1984. You think nothing of it. But what if I told you that this single coin, if it happens to be a specific kind of 1984 penny, could change your life? That inside that coin jar, you might be holding something that could be worth an amount most people never dream a single cent could bring. The 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is one of those coins. It's an unassuming little artifact of U.S. history that's hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a little knowledge to recognize it. While millions of pennies were minted that year, only a small fraction carried the traits that make collectors' hearts race. And that scarcity, combined with its historical and numismatic significance, is what makes it so valuable today. To understand why this coin matters, let's step back into the early 1980s. The United States Mint had been producing the Lincoln cent for decades, featuring the bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse since 1909, in honor of the 100th anniversary of his birth. But by 1982, there was a major change in the way the penny was made. For most of its life, the Lincoln cent had been struck in 95% copper, but rising copper prices made the metal in the coin worth almost as much as its face value. The mint switched to a primarily zinc core with just a thin copper plating. The 1984 pennies were among the early full years of this new composition. Now, you might be wondering, how could such an everyday coin become rare? After all, in 1984, the Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of pennies without a mint mark. That's right, no mint mark doesn't necessarily mean rare by itself. For Philadelphia minted coins, it's the norm. But here's where things get interesting. There are varieties, errors, and extremely well-preserved examples of this year's cent that are anything but ordinary. The most famous of these from 1984 is the so-called double-die obverse, where a doubling effect can be clearly seen on Lincoln's ear, giving rise to the nickname, extra ear, penny. This is not a trick of the light. It's a genuine minting error that occurred when the die that strikes the coin's image was improperly manufactured. Instead of a crisp single-strike design, some features appear doubled. When collectors find one of these double-die examples in mint condition, especially in high uncirculated grades, they're willing to pay staggering prices. That's because true mint errors like this are rare accidents, and in the world of coin collecting, rarity is king. Combine that rarity with demand from collectors, and you've got a formula for a coin that's worth exponentially more than its 1 cent face value. But even outside of the famous double-die variety, 1984 pennies in pristine condition are highly collectible. Remember, most coins spend decades in circulation, being handled, dropped, scraped, and worn down. Finding a coin from 1984 that still has its original luster, with no scratches, dings, or discoloration, is like finding a vintage sports car that's never left the showroom floor. Those pristine examples can command serious money at auction. The grading of coins is a big factor here. The numismatic world uses a scale from 1 to 70 to measure condition, with 70 being a perfect coin. A 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln cent that's been graded MS 68 or higher, meaning mint state, and nearly flawless, is an elite find. Each incremental jump in grade can double or triple the coin's market value. And when a collector is trying to complete a high-grade set of Lincoln cents, they'll often pay whatever it takes to acquire that one coin that meets their standards. Now, let's talk about how to spot whether your 1984 penny might be special. First, if you have an uncirculated example, check the obverse carefully, especially Lincoln's ear. A genuine double die will show clear separation lines, almost as if there's an extra ear lobe behind the first. This is not the same as simple wear or a shadow, it's a distinct doubling created during the die-making process. If you think you've spotted one, it's worth having it evaluated by a professional grading service. Collectors trust coins that have been authenticated and graded by reputable organizations like PCGS or NGC, and such certification can dramatically increase your coin's sale price. Even without the doubling, coins in superb condition can be winners. Look for that original copper shine and strong details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat. A penny that looks as if it just rolled off the presses, even after 40 years, is a prize in itself. The story of rare modern coins like the 1984 penny also reflects a bigger truth about collecting. Sometimes the items we overlook are the ones with the most potential. People often assume only ancient coins or gold pieces can be valuable, but modern cents can shock the collecting world with their auction results. And because pennies are so common, they remain one of the most accessible entry points into the hobby. You don't need a huge investment to start hunting. You might already have a treasure in your pocket change. Over the years, several record-breaking sales of the 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln cent have been reported. In auctions, when two or more determined collectors go head-to-head, prices can climb rapidly. Imagine sitting in an auction hall or watching live online as the bids keep coming. $1, $000, $2, $500, $5,000, until the final hammer drops and a coin that was struck for just 1 cent sells for a life-changing amount. For many collectors, owning a coin like this is about more than the money. It's about holding a piece of history, a tangible link to the era it was made. The mid-1980s were a time of cultural change, economic shifts, and technological advancements. A penny from that year carries the fingerprints, literally and figuratively, of all the people who might have handled it before it was discovered as a rarity. It's a reminder that even the smallest objects can tell big stories. If you're now feeling the urge to check your own change jars, here's a tip: don't just look at the date. Study the details closely. Good lighting and a simple magnifying glass can help reveal features that are invisible to the naked eye. And remember, condition is critical. Even a rare era coin will lose much of its value if it's heavily worn or damaged. On the other hand, a common date in exceptional condition can still be worth much more than face value. The hunt for coins like the 1984 penny has also been fueled by online communities of collectors. Social media groups, YouTube channels, and coin forums are buzzing with people sharing their finds, posting photos of potential errors, and debating grading results. This connectivity has brought more attention to coins that might otherwise have gone unnoticed, and it's one reason why the market for certain modern issues has stayed strong. What's fascinating is that the mint never intended for coins like the double-die 1984 cent to exist. They're the result of human error in a process that's otherwise highly controlled. In a way, that makes them even more intriguing. These coins slipped through the cracks, bypassing quality control, and made their way into circulation to be spent like any other penny. The fact that they survived decades without being lost, destroyed, or corroded is a testament to their resilience, and the luck of whoever ends up finding one. So, whether you're a casual change checker or a serious collector, the lesson here is clear: every coin has a story, and sometimes that story ends with a remarkable discovery. The 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is proof that you should never underestimate what might be hiding in plain sight. You don't need a metal detector or a trip to a distant treasure site. The treasure might already be in your home, jingling around with a handful of other coins. One last point: if you think you've found something valuable, don't clean it. Ever. Cleaning a coin can destroy its numismatic value, leaving microscopic scratches and removing the natural patina that collectors prize. Instead, keep it safe, handle it carefully by the edges, and seek a professional opinion. A true treasure is best preserved exactly as it is. Now, here's the part you've been waiting for. While not every 1984 penny is valuable, the finest examples, especially those with the famous doubling and in top-tier condition, have sold for jaw-dropping amounts. And in one standout case, a pristine 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent penny fetched an incredible $22,388. Yes, you heard that right. What began life as a simple 1 cent coin ended up being worth more than some brand new cars. That's the magic of coin collecting, turning pocket change into a fortune, one extraordinary find at a time. The year was 1998. Bill Clinton was in the White House. The internet was just beginning to weave its way into everyday life, and the world was experiencing the final years before the turn of the millennium. In pockets across the United States, there was a coin quietly making its way through the hands of millions of people, so ordinary that almost no one gave it a second glance. It was small, copper-colored, and it had the familiar face of President Abraham Lincoln on the front. Yes, it was the Lincoln 1-cent penny, minted in large numbers that year. But hidden among those countless coins, there were a select few pieces that would someday make coin collectors' hearts race, for they carried a subtle distinction. They bore no mint mark at all. At first glance, a 1998 penny without a mint mark might look like just another cent you'd find under your couch cushion or lying in a grocery store parking lot. Most people might think, it's just a penny, what could it possibly be worth? But numismatics, the study and collection of coins, teaches us that small details often separate a common coin from one that is rare and valuable. In the case of the 1998 no mint mark Lincoln cent, those details have made all the difference. The absence of a mint mark means that this coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Philadelphia struck pennies traditionally carried no mint mark, so the lack of a letter under the date was standard for coins from that facility. But here's where things get interesting. 1998 was a year of incredibly high production numbers for Lincoln cents, and yet only a handful of well-preserved examples without any wear, scratches, or imperfections have survived in top condition. You might think, well, if the Philadelphia Mint made millions of these, how could it be rare? The answer lies in condition and in the subtle differences that can occur during the minting process. Mint state coins, those that have never been in circulation and retain their original shine, are already uncommon for a coin over 2 decades old. But when you add in the possibility of certain varieties, slight die differences, and the obsessive attention collectors give to flawless details, you begin to see why a select few have skyrocketed in value. Let's travel back to the production process of 1998. Each penny began as a small copper-plated zinc blank. These blanks were fed into high-speed presses, each equipped with dies engraved with Lincoln's profile on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Over time, those dies wore down, developed small imperfections, and sometimes created slightly altered images on the coins. Most people never noticed such changes. After all, they were dealing with pocket change, not museum pieces. But collectors notice everything. The Lincoln Memorial reverse had been in use since 1959, replacing the earlier wheat ears design, and in 1998, that reverse design would be nearing the end of its life, as the following decade would see the introduction of the Lincoln bicentennial designs. This meant that for collectors, each year leading up to the change became more nostalgic and historically significant. The 1998 no mint mark penny is one of the last years of the classic Memorial reverse, making pristine examples even more desirable to those who collect complete series sets. When you pick up a 1998 penny and hold it to the light, you'll notice the smooth copper surface catching reflections in warm tones. On the obverse, Lincoln's gaze is steady, his beard finely detailed, his hair strands delicately visible. The date, 1998, is neatly pressed, and if it's a Philadelphia coin, there will be no letter P beneath the date, just a clean, empty space. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands proudly, with tiny columns that, under magnification, reveal even tinier details, including the barely visible figure of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. For the casual observer, all of this may seem like trivia. But for serious collectors, each feature matters. A 1998 penny without a mint mark can be found in ordinary condition for a single cent, of course, but in gem-uncirculated condition, graded by professional coin grading services, it can be worth far more. These coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with a perfect 70 representing a flawless, as-struck specimen. A coin graded at 68 or higher, especially one with deep original luster, sharp strike, and no contact marks, can enter the realm of true collectible value. Now imagine that you're a collector searching through thousands of coins, hoping to find one such treasure. Most you encounter will be worn, their details softened by years of pocket wear, vending machines, and coin jars. But then you find it, a coin that looks like it just left the mint, glowing with its original copper brilliance. That's the kind of discovery that fuels the numismatic passion and sends auction prices soaring. Over the years, auction houses have seen remarkable sales for high-grade 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln cents. These are not coins plucked randomly from circulation, but ones that have been carefully preserved since the day they were minted, often taken directly from mint rolls or proof sets and kept safe from the environment's damaging effects. It's this level of preservation that separates an ordinary penny from a numismatic gem. But the story of the 1998 no-mint mark penny isn't just about rarity, it's about the thrill of the hunt. Coin collecting is as much about the journey as it is about the destination. Every coin tells a story of the era it comes from, of the technology used to produce it, and of the people who handled it. In 1998, the United States was experiencing a time of economic prosperity, technological growth, and cultural shifts. The coins from that year are tiny, tangible links to that moment in history. For someone who discovers a valuable 1998 penny in their change, it's almost like unearthing buried treasure. You might toss a penny into a tip jar without thinking twice, but what if that penny could be worth thousands? That's why many collectors, both amateur and professional, keep a close eye on their pocket change. And that's why videos like this exist, to remind you that the coins you see every day might have hidden stories and hidden value. The Lincoln Cent series has been one of the most beloved coin series in American history, with a continuous production run since 1909. That year marked the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and his portrait on the cent was a first for U.S. coinage. Never before had a real person been depicted on a circulating American coin. This legacy continued into 1998, with the Philadelphia Mint producing millions of no-mint mark cents that quietly entered circulation. Most of them would be spent, worn down, and forgotten. But the finest survivors have become numismatic prizes. Collectors often look for red designations on copper coins, which indicate that the coin has retained at least 95% of its original reddish copper color. Over time, copper naturally darkens and turns brown due to oxidation. A 1998 no-mint mark cent with a full red designation and no signs of handling is a true standout. Combined with a top-tier grade, it can bring serious money in the right market. For beginners, the best way to find one is to start searching through bank rolls, unsearched penny boxes, and old coin jars. You never know what might turn up. While most examples you find will be common, the possibility of finding one in gem condition keeps collectors coming back for more. The odds might be small, but the reward can be great. It's worth noting that coins are valued not just for their rarity but also for demand. The Lincoln cent is one of the most collected coins in America, and demand for high-grade examples is always strong. Even modern dates like 1998 can surprise people with their value if they're in exceptional condition. That's why some collectors will pay top dollar for a coin that, to most people, still feels like just a penny. The journey of a single coin, from a bright new strike at the Philadelphia Mint in 1998, to a pocket, to a drawer, to an auction block, can span decades and cross countless hands. Each tiny scratch, each tiny spot of discoloration, tells part of that journey. But in rare cases, a coin survives untouched, as though frozen in time. And that's when its value leaps far beyond 1 cent. The 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln cent reminds us that history, art, and value can be found in the smallest of places. It's a symbol of the idea that sometimes, what looks ordinary can hold extraordinary worth. So the next time you receive a penny in your change, take a closer look. Check the date, examine the condition, and see if there's a mint mark. You just might be holding a small piece of American history that could surprise you, and in some exceptional cases, the value of such a coin in pristine, mint-state condition can reach as high as $16,266. If you've ever reached into your pocket for spare change or sifted through a handful of coins at the grocery store checkout, you might not realize that you could be holding a tiny piece of treasure worth far more than its face value. The humble penny, often dismissed as the smallest and least significant coin in American currency, has surprised collectors and treasure hunters for decades. And among the many examples, one modern penny stands out, not because of its ancient age or its connection to a long-lost mint, but because it was struck in the relatively recent year of 2018. This is the fascinating story of the 2018 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent penny, a modern coin with a value that could leave your jaw on the floor. Its design may look familiar. After all, it features the classic image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, and the iconic Union shield on the reverse. But what makes it special isn't simply what's on the surface. It's the tiny details, the subtle minting quirks, and the rare conditions under which some of these coins were produced that transform them from pocket change into serious collector's items. To understand the significance of this coin, let's take a moment to step back and look at the long and proud history of the Lincoln cent itself. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909, marking the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Over the decades, its reverse design has changed, from the wheat ears of the early years, to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959, and finally to the Union Shield starting in 2010. But through all these changes, Lincoln's dignified profile has remained constant on the obverse, a reminder of his enduring legacy. Now, in the modern era, pennies are still produced in staggering quantities every year, most of them at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. The mint mark on a coin, typically a small letter such as D for Denver or S for San Francisco, tells us where that coin was made. But coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint are a little different. For much of the penny's history, Philadelphia made cents bore no mint mark at all. And while that might seem like a simple and unremarkable tradition, the absence of a mint mark is often the first clue that you could be holding something valuable, especially when it comes to modern coins in exceptional condition. The 2018 no mint mark Lincoln penny is one such coin that has caught the attention of collectors. While millions were made, only a tiny fraction emerged with the perfect combination of features that can command astonishing prices at auctions and among numismatists. So, what's the secret? The value of any coin comes down to a mix of three key factors: rarity, condition, and demand. Rarity in this case doesn't mean that only a few were struck. It means that only a few survive in flawless, untouched condition, or with unusual minting errors. Coins fresh from the mint that haven't been in circulation often have a sharp, mirror-like finish and crisp details. These are called mint state coins, and they're the ones collectors prize the most. For the 2018 penny, a coin graded at the very top levels, like MS68 or MS69 by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, is incredibly hard to come by. Then there's the matter of mint errors. Every now and then, something goes just a little bit wrong during the minting process. Maybe the die strikes the coin off-center, or a double image appears because the coin was struck twice. Sometimes, the metal planchet, the blank piece of metal used to make the coin, isn't cut to the exact specifications, or the lettering ends up distorted. These errors might seem like imperfections, but in the world of coin collecting, they can be pure gold, or, in this case, pure copper-plated zinc. One of the most sought-after types of error on a modern penny is a doubled die. This happens when the die that imprints the coin is misaligned or impressed more than once, creating a slight but visible doubling in the lettering or images. Collectors love these because they're easy to spot with a magnifying glass, and they can dramatically increase a coin's value. Some 2018 no mint mark Lincoln pennies with dramatic doubling on the date or lettering have become instant favorites among error collectors. Of course, the 2018 penny also benefits from the modern rarity effect. While older coins naturally become scarcer over time, modern coins are usually assumed to be plentiful. That's why when a modern coin manages to fetch big money, it catches people off guard. Most folks assume a penny minted in the past few years couldn't possibly be worth more than face value. But in truth, the right coin in the right condition can command prices usually reserved for coins over 100 years old. It's also worth noting that the composition of the penny has changed over time, and modern pennies are made mostly of zinc with a thin copper plating. This makes them lighter and cheaper to produce, but it also means they're more prone to wear and damage over time. Finding one in immaculate condition is tougher than you might think. The tiniest scratch, the faintest fingerprint, or even the natural oils from handling can lower a coin's grade and with it, its potential value. This is why collectors are so careful when searching through rolls of coins from the bank or boxes of freshly minted change from the store. They use gloves, magnifying glasses, and careful lighting to spot any signs of perfection, or any unique minting flaws that could set a coin apart. And when it comes to 2018 pennies, the thrill of the hunt is in finding that needle in the haystack, the perfect, error-free, high-grade example. Stories abound of people finding valuable pennies in the most ordinary places: a coin jar in the kitchen, a forgotten change purse, or even lying in the parking lot. While not every 2018 penny is a jackpot, the possibility that one might be is enough to keep treasure hunters searching. Let's imagine for a moment that you come across a 2018 no-mint mark Lincoln penny that looks especially clean and sharp. The next step is to handle it carefully. No rubbing, no wiping, and certainly no cleaning, as that can instantly destroy its value to collectors. Instead, you'd want to submit it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll evaluate its condition under strict guidelines, assign it a grade, and seal it in a protective case. If the grading comes back in the highest possible range, that's when the magic happens. Collectors at auctions are willing to pay top dollar for coins that meet their standards for rarity and beauty. And while many pennies might sell for a modest premium over face value, some rare, high-grade examples of the 2018 no-mint mark penny have shocked the numismatic world with the amounts they've fetched. So, why do collectors go to such lengths for a modern penny? It comes down to passion and the pursuit of perfection. Coin collecting isn't just about owning rare pieces, it's about the thrill of discovery, the appreciation of craftsmanship, and the joy of preserving history, even in something as small as a 1-cent coin. Every penny tells a story, and the 2018 no-mint mark Lincoln penny story is still being written as more examples are found, graded, and sold. If you're inspired to start your own search, remember that the key is attention to detail. Look for a strong, clear strike with no visible wear. Check for doubling in the lettering or date. And if you find something that looks unusual, take the time to have it evaluated by an expert. You never know. You might just be holding a tiny copper-plated treasure in the palm of your hand. And finally, for those wondering just how valuable the best of the best can be, here's the number that will make you think twice about every penny you see. The most pristine, high-grade 2018 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has sold for an astonishing $12,388. The story of the Lincoln 1-cent penny has been told countless times, but every so often, a particular coin stands out from the crowd. A small copper-colored disc that manages to capture the attention of collectors, treasure hunters, and casual change checkers alike. Today, we turn our attention to a modern marvel hiding in plain sight. The 2020 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. It may look ordinary to the untrained eye, resting quietly at the bottom of your pocket or rolling around in a kitchen drawer, but this coin carries with it an exciting potential. In this video, we're going to explore the fascinating history that led to its creation, why a 2020 penny without a mint mark might be special, and what drives its surprising value in today's numismatic market. Let's start with something that might surprise many viewers. Pennies aren't always just a penny. Some are worth far more than their face value, and it's often the tiniest details, a missing mark, a minor design variation, or an unusual minting error, that can transform an everyday coin into something worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The Lincoln penny has been in production since 1909, replacing the Indian head cent and marking the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the original coin featured Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and wheat stalks on the reverse. Over the decades, the design evolved, from the wheat ear reverse to the Lincoln Memorial, and now to the Union Shield design introduced in 2010. By 2020, the Shield design was well established, but that doesn't mean every penny struck that year was identical. Now, here's where the intrigue begins. In the United States, coins are produced at different mint facilities, primarily in Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and more recently, West Point for special issues. To help identify the origin of a coin, mint marks are stamped onto them. A D stands for Denver, an S for San Francisco, and a W for West Point. Coins from Philadelphia historically had no mint mark at all, at least for denominations like the penny. That means a no mint mark. Lincoln cent typically indicates it was struck in Philadelphia. But in the world of coin collecting, not all no mint mark coins are created equal. While most 2020 pennies without a mint mark are perfectly ordinary and worth only face value, certain rare examples can command significant prices, especially if they are in pristine condition, display unique errors, or come from limited production runs. Why is that? The answer lies in the delicate balance between rarity, demand, and condition. Collectors prize coins that are not only scarce but also well preserved. In the case of the 2020 no mint mark penny, coins that are graded in exceptionally high condition, such as MS-68 or MS-69 by professional grading services, can fetch impressive sums. Even a small error, such as a die crack, double die obverse, or off-center strike, can push the value much higher. Think about it, billions of pennies are minted each year, but only a tiny fraction emerge without scratches, blemishes, or bag marks. Those flawless survivors are the ones collectors chase after, and in the fiercely competitive world of numismatics, that chase can lead to extraordinary prices at auction. The 2020 no mint mark Lincoln penny in perfect, uncirculated condition is a modern-day treasure. It might seem counterintuitive. After all, it's a coin you could still find in your change today, but the difference between a circulated penny and a high-grade uncirculated example can be night and day. Imagine finding a penny that has never been touched by human hands, fresh from the mint, with its original luster and sharp strike. That's the kind of coin that can make even the most seasoned collector's heart race. Another layer to the 2020 penny story is the year itself. 2020 will forever be remembered as a year of global disruption. The COVID-19 pandemic affected every aspect of life, including coin production and circulation. Mints were forced to operate under new health restrictions, and at certain points, coin shortages were reported across the country. That unusual economic climate created a perfect storm for collectors, as some mint runs were smaller than usual and certain coins were hoarded by curious finders. On top of that, the 2020 penny continues to be a prime candidate for die varieties. Collectors have reported examples with faint doubling on Lincoln's eye, minor shifts in lettering, and even unusual planchet marks. While not every variety is worth a fortune, the most dramatic ones, especially those authenticated by reputable grading companies, can attract impressive bids from enthusiasts who specialize in modern mint errors. So, how do you know if your 2020 no mint mark penny might be special? First, examine it closely under good lighting. Look for any signs of doubling, misalignment, or unusual surface textures. If it's completely free of scratches, fingerprints, or dulling, you may have an uncirculated specimen. In that case, you might consider having it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. The grading process assigns an official condition rating, and if your penny lands in the top percentile, its market value could skyrocket. Next, pay attention to the coin's color and luster. A bright, brilliant red penny is generally more desirable than one that's toned brown from exposure. Collectors often pay a premium for coins that maintain that fresh from the mint glow. The higher the grade and the more eye appeal it has, the better your chances of commanding a strong price. The beauty of coin collecting is that discoveries can happen anywhere, in your pocket change, in a jar of coins that's been sitting untouched for years, or even in a roll of pennies purchased from the bank. For many, the thrill is in the hunt. And with the 2020 no mint mark Lincoln penny, the odds of finding something valuable are higher than you might think, especially if you know what to look for. Of course, not every 2020 penny is going to make you rich, and it's important to keep your expectations realistic. Most are worth exactly 1 cent, and even the better preserved ones might only fetch a few dollars. But every so often, a gem emerges, a coin so pristine or so unusual that it commands attention from serious collectors across the country. Imagine attending a coin auction and seeing a small copper penny, identical in size to the one in your hand, selling for thousands of dollars. The auctioneer announces the final bid, the gavel falls, and the room erupts with murmurs of astonishment. That's the magic of numismatics, the transformation of the ordinary into the extraordinary through history, rarity, and passion. The Lincoln cent has endured for well over a century, outlasting silver coins, design changes, and even economic upheavals. The 2020 no mint mark penny is the latest chapter in that long and storied history. It's a reminder that value can hide in plain sight, waiting to be recognized by those with the knowledge and curiosity to look closer. So, the next time you find a penny in your pocket, don't dismiss it as worthless. Take a moment to inspect it. Look at the date, check for the mint mark, or lack thereof, and study its condition. You never know when you might be holding a piece of modern American history worth far more than its face value. And for those wondering just how much a top-grade 2020 no-mint mark Lincoln penny can be worth, the answer might surprise you. One pristine example in flawless condition has been known to reach an astonishing $9,266 at auction, a remarkable figure for a coin most people wouldn't think twice about spending.